Hi, my name is Todd Bigelow. Thanks for stopping in. This is just a short informal video series on business topics for freelance photographers. I've been a freelancer for 30 years. I'm a contributing photographer to Contact Press Images. I'm an adjunct professor of photography and photojournalism, the founder of the Business of Photography Workshop, and most recently, the author of the Freelance Photographer's Guide to Success Business Essentials. Thanks for stopping in, and I hope you enjoy the series. So the other day I tweeted out the most commonly licensed images looking back over years in my archive. So I had some research to do, and I had to go back into some commission royalty reports from Aurora Photos, at an agency that I was with from the late 90s up until about 2015, 2016. And we license a lot of images. I license a lot of images through them. They license a lot of images for me through sub-agents, directly through Aurora. So there was a consistent amount of licensing going on, and I wanted to bring that to your attention for a certain reason. When you look back, and I talk about this in my workshop, when I look back at my archive, I can easily discern some of the most commonly licensed images. And you can, look into the attributes of those photographs and determine to some degree, what is it that interests people? Is it a certain, style? Is it a certain look? Is it a certain genre? Is it celebrities? Is it outdoor work? Is it a combination of all that? But it's important for me to kind of consider those facts so that I can push a certain amount of work out there through social media, addressing it with photo editors that I've developed, professional relationships with and so forth. So that's what I want to mention today. So I want to look back at some of the most often licensed images directly through me and also through my former agency. Again, having taken that information after looking through years of royalty reports when I had to do some research. So what did most of these have in common? I think first and foremost, it's lifestyle. Okay, so even if they came from assignments that didn't have to do with the fact that it was a lifestyle, there's a lifestyle kind of tone to the images. And that has broad appeal across, many different markets, so to speak. So there might be designers. I saw quite a few licenses written for brochures and direct mail, commercial licenses, which, the people were unidentifiable. I saw a lot of images that were being licensed for, textbooks and periodicals and all sorts of different commercials, television commercials and so forth. So there tended to be a lot of interest in the lifestyle aspect of the photograph. So let's look at a couple of the photographs just so you can see what I mean. And then I want to bring up a couple of other factors. So this first one, it shows a golfer with Palm Springs with palm trees kind of lining the side of the fairway and the mountains in the background. Now, two interesting things about this. One, it's a tournament that I was actually covering for Sports Illustrated. So this was actually photographed as part of my assignment. I'm out there looking for certain photographs and trying to give a broad sense of the tournament for the magazine. Okay. However, when I process those and I put them into my archive, I clearly recognize the fact that this can have broad appeal. Okay. So a number of things. It's unidentifiable. There's some interesting colors. It's pretty. It's kind of clean. So very simple, but it's a golf lifestyle. Golf is huge around the world, as we know. So I had anticipated that this might be an image, along with some others that would license more broadly, and it has over time, quite a bit, in fact. Okay, so again, an assignment for which I held on to the rights. Make sure you understand that. Those of you who know me know how much I, dwell on that issue. So if I had signed away the rights in a contract to do the assignment, I couldn't even put it on my archive, and I couldn't see the licensing revenue over time from it. Okay, so, that being the case, I was able to not only do the shoot, but select a, set of images to go up into my archive and be searchable that don't have really anything to do with the tournament, but are more generic in fashion so that I could generate some lifestyle, some licensing from that lifestyle look. This next image, it's a favorite image of mine, probably because it's my son when he was young. This was not shot on assignment. This was an image in which my wife and I took our son to an air show when he was young. He was kind of enamored by, big aircraft and military vehicles, and he was really cute, loved to dress in camo and so forth. So, I take my camera everywhere and I shoot images, lifestyle images of my family, of anywhere I go, basically. A couple weekends ago, I went to Washington, D.C., had just for a few days and hadn't been there in a number of years. And I shot a ton of lifestyle images of, people enjoying the warm spring day out and around the National Mall and at the zoo and eating and all sorts of different things because I ingest those into my archive. This was one of those days. And I just took this photograph and provided it to my agency, just as I had with the golf image before, and in many, many thousands of other images, put it up on my own archive. And over time, this has appeared in calendars, in textbooks, in magazine articles, because when I get my commission reports, the commission reports would state who licensed it, where it was licensed to, what sort of license it was, meaning commercial, editorial, and a brief description of the licensor. The licensee, I'm the licensor, or my agency. And, obviously the fee. So over time, this image has generated thousands of dollars in licensing fees. I was able to determine that because at one point I asked my agency, Aurora, to give me some figures for certain images. I provided the image ID numbers. They just did a quick, accounting search and provided that for me, which I in turn provide in my workshop so that people can see how a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there, adds up over time to thousands of dollars. Okay, so next image. This was an image that was shot on assignment. It's a little different from the golf image. The golf image that I shot for Sports Illustrated was an assignment. They asked me to go cover something. This was actually something that I saw was going to be coming up, and I contacted an editor at Sports Illustrated and said, hey, listen, would you like me to go cover this for a day? You want to give me a day rate and I'll go shoot this for you, and maybe we can come up with some interesting images for the magazine's leading off section, which was essentially the first 6 pages where they would run a double page spread. So there'd be 3 photographs, one over 2 pages, and they do that, 3 different times. So the first 6 pages was called leading off. And the editor loved it, said, sure, why not? I'll give you a day rate for it. So I drove down to San Diego and I covered this Canine Frisbee Disc Championship. Okay, so this image, along with several other images from it, has licensed multiple times, many times. So again, it's more of a lifestyle image. It has broad appeal to the outdoor market, to the pet industry, and some of you may say, "Oh, well, there's an Alpo, handkerchief on the dog." There's ways around that. My agency easily, if they got a commercial license request for it, could go ahead and take the Alpo off so that they could license it commercially, say, to a dog food company or something to that effect. But most of these are editorial licenses anyways. So the editorial licenses are going to be, straightforward, a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. Again, a lot of textbook examples and so forth. This last image that I'm showing is another image of my son when he was young. We were up in the Sierras where we spend a lot of time. I have images from this area that I've shot on assignment and in stock that have licensed to Geographic Traveler, to Geographic Adventure, to all sorts of different publications. This is my son getting ready to fish one of the rivers up there. It's kind of a quaint little image, kind of Americana, and in that general sense, it has a broad appeal. And again, especially with my agency at the time and and the sub-agents, that image had a broad appeal to a wide range of licensees, from publications to, outdoor transit ads. Again, these types of things that aren't huge licenses, but over time they add up. Okay, and of course it's a model release image, and there's many other images. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of these types of images that I've shot over time on assignment, and a lot of them on personal time. Family trips to Hawaii ended up as full page spreads in Geographic Adventure. Specifically, my wife and son, walking through Waimea Canyon. Okay, so again, consider when you're putting images up on your archive a broader appeal that they might have, and make sure that you get those images out front. Make sure that you're keywording them and placing the important metadata where it needs to be so that Google can put those images into people's search results. Okay? So general licensing appeal is a great thing to have. So work hard when you're out there with your family or just enjoying time, bring your camera, and also keep that in mind when you're shooting assignments and then editing them for an archive or an agency. That should lead to some licensing income over time. Remember, it takes a little bit of time to get that all going, but it will happen over time. And I'm not doing anything different than what a lot of photographers that I grew up with taught me to do, which is, build, because over time those images will find homes in places and present licensing fees to you. Okay, hope that helps. There's a workshop coming up in August. Information on the workshop, Business Photography Workshop page. I don't think the registration is open quite yet. I believe it will either be at the end of this month or in June. That August workshop typically does sell out. It is at UCLA. And I hope I can see you there. It's 2 full days, and we talk a ton about this type of stuff in depth. Okay? Thanks so much for dropping by, and I'll see you next time.